Chapter 81, The Army is Coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Only a woman like her would be good enough for him. Xuanhuan glanced at the gentle Yimuqing, thinking it over. Wang Feng brushed off the eldest princess. Xuanhuan went to the stone table, and sat down. He picked up the tea Yimuqing had brewed, took a sip, and felt instantly refreshed. Damn, that fairy's tea is something else, really amazing. After that sip, Wang Feng turned his attention to the eldest princess, Xuanhuan, and asked seriously, "Alright, spill it. What's your name? Why'd you come to my Immortal Sect? And why the hell did you challenge us?" That his tone made it sound like he was interrogating her. The Empire's eldest princess, Xuanhuan, rolled her eyes at that. This fool didn't even know who she was. Everyone in the Shining Sun Empire knew her name. The Empire's top beauty. It wasn't just a title. This sect master Wang De was a real idiot, actually capturing her without even knowing her identity, but hey, if he wasn't a fool, how could she have pulled off such a bold move, making her brother furious? "I suggest you let me go, or you'll be in deep trouble." That the eldest princess, Xuanhuan, acted like it was nothing, not nervous at all. She gave Wang Feng a light glance and spoke softly. The more Wang Feng detained her, the happier she would be. Her troubles were closing in fast. Only by finding a powerful sect to hide in could she escape, and this immortal sect was obviously that powerful sect. Okay, so this great sect master Wang was a bit of a goofball, but his strength was unbelievable. He'd captured her in a single move. Besides powerhouses in the Xuanhuan realm, she didn't know who else could do that. As the Empire's eldest princess, she'd survived countless assassination attempts to get where she was today. She wasn't some naive woman in Wang Feng's eyes. "Oh, you're pretty cocky for someone we've got our hands on. I like your courage." Wang Feng chuckled, looking her up and down, amused. No force in the three major empires could give him trouble. Not even the empires themselves. This woman was seriously clueless. Maybe she had some clout, thought she was all that. "There's no one in the three major empires that can mess with us. I'll capture whoever I want, got it? You can bring out whoever's backing you and I'll turn them into a bunch of pigs." Wang Feng raised his eyebrows, grinning arrogantly. Damn, daring to be arrogant on his territory. He couldn't let that slide. Hearing Wang Feng's arrogant words, the eldest princess Xuanhuan smiled beneath her mask. Yup, he was a fool. Easy to trick. Sure, your immortal sect is powerful, and you're a powerful sect master Wang, but you're nothing compared to the forces behind me. That the eldest princess Xuanhuan said proudly, with total confidence. Wang Feng's grin widened. He looked at Xuanhuan and asked, "Oh yeah? Who's backing you? Let's hear it." The eldest princess Xuanhuan didn't answer, just stood there quietly, not worried at all. It was like she hadn't been captured, but invited. Damn, seeing her act like that, Wang Feng cursed inwardly. He was too soft. If a guy dared act like that in front of him, he'd be turned to dust by now. Of course, Wang Feng would never admit he wanted to see Xuanhuan's reaction, so he kept arguing. "Wearing a mask? Are you too ugly to be seen? Let me see your face." He looked at Xuanhuan, a sly grin on his face, and said seriously, maybe he could figure her out from her looks. He'd secretly used the Emperor's Qi technique, and what he'd seen had shocked him. This woman's luck was just as strong as Xiao Yunfeng's, but Xiao Yunfeng's luck was purple gold and entangled with that cursed thing, dimming its light. This woman's luck was black and shiny, which really worried Wang Feng. He didn't know much about luck, but he knew a little. The highest level was chaotic, impossible to see clearly. Even him, with his heavenly seeing Qi, couldn't see it, unless he trained it to the max. Then there were colorful luck, red luck, purple gold luck, purple luck, golden luck, and so on, but he'd never heard of black luck. There were two possible reasons: either her luck had mutated, or someone was trying to steal it, turning it black. That's why he wanted to see who she was. "I swore that anyone who sees my face for the first time, aside from my family, I have to marry them. If you see it, I have to marry you." Just as Wang Feng reached out, her words froze him, his hands stopping in mid-air. Yimuqing's gaze made him sweat. he chuckled sheepishly, pulling his hand back. What kind of crazy promise is that? Seeing Wang Feng's reaction, the eldest Princess Xuanhuan smiled. This fool was afraid of his wife. After Wang Feng pulled back his hand, Yi Muqing looked away, sitting gracefully. Xian Sha. Since he couldn't see her face, Wang Feng lost interest and said through voice transmission, he couldn't just let her go. He couldn't let just anyone come to the Immortal Sect. He couldn't let anyone challenge him. If she dared challenge him, she'd pay the price. Sect leader. In moments, the great demon of Xiansha appeared in the pavilion. He glanced at the eldest Princess Xuanhuan, then bowed respectfully to Wang Feng. That single glance made the eldest Princess Xuanhuan's pupils shrink. She trembled, heart racing, just one look and she recognized the great demon Xiansha. She didn't expect that the demon who terrorized the Shining Sun Empire 1,000 years ago was actually a member of the Immortal Sect, so respectful to Wang Feng. He wasn't the tyrant he'd been 1,000 years ago. Back then, the great demon Xiansha had caused a huge uproar in the Yari Empire. The eldest Princess Xuanhuan had been a little girl, she lived in the palace, so it was normal that the great demon Xiansha didn't know her, but she knew him. Everyone in the Yari Empire knew of the great demon Xiansha and his appearance was well known by all the members of the Yari royal family. What kind of sect was this Immortal Sect? Even characters like the great demon Xiansha were members. The eldest Princess Xuanhuan was both shocked and curious. Take this girl and lock her up for a few days. She dares come to my Immortal Sect and cause trouble. I want to see what kind of forces are backing her. Wang Feng glanced at the eldest Princess Xuanhuan, snorting, she was too arrogant on his territory. Didn't know how powerful he was. Yes, sect leader. The great demon Xiansha bowed respectfully, then looked at the eldest Princess Xuanhuan, his eyes indifferent. He grabbed the chains binding her and dragged her away. The eldest Princess Xuanhuan didn't resist. She took one last, loaded look at Wang Feng, and followed the great demon of Xiansha. Husband, that woman is a little weird. After the great demon Xiansha took the eldest Princess Xuanhuan away, Yi Muqing frowned, speaking softly. Oh. What did you notice, Qing'er? Wang Feng smiled, looking at Yi Muqing and asking. She seemed to want to stay in the Immortal Sect on purpose. Wang Feng's smile widened. He hadn't expected Yi Muqing to be so observant. I know. She was trying to provoke me from the start. Then why? Qing'er, no matter why she provoked me, the fact is, she challenged the Immortal Sect and me. If I let her go without a scratch, wouldn't that ruin the reputation of the Immortal Sect? No matter what her goal is, I've captured her, so everything about her, even her life, is in my hands. She can't cause any trouble. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes, smiling confidently. Now, in his Immortal Sect, including him, there were 3 powerhouses in the Xuanzhuan realm, as well as several at the peak of the Xianhuan realm. Who could mess with them in these 3 empires? Hearing Wang Feng's words, Yi Muqing nodded, laughing. She loved his confidence. The air in the pavilion trembled violently. A muscular figure in tight black clothes stepped out of the void, a machete hidden in a black sheath on his waist. Ding Peng reports to the sect leader, that the visitor was the magic knife, Ding Peng. No need to be so formal. Wang Feng wasn't surprised by Ding Peng's appearance. He reached out, helping Ding Peng up, chuckling. Yup, this was the magic knife, Ding Peng. The moment he touched Ding Peng, Wang Feng felt the massive power within him. If it were to burst out, it would be earth-shattering. Wang Feng, come out. Chapter 82, Immortal 3 Sins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At that moment, a bell-like sound echoed across the entire Shenxianzong Valley. Wang Feng and Ding Peng both squinted, looking up. In the distance, a rolling black cloud pressed toward the Immortal Sect, with countless figures appearing above it, like divine soldiers descending. A heavy, oppressive feeling filled the valley. Many elders of the Immortal Sect, who had been cultivating in their halls, opened their eyes with a flash of coldness. They moved instantly, appearing in the pavilion where Wang Feng was. Zhang Sanfeng and the others saluted Wang Feng slightly before looking at the approaching darkness. The Immortal Sect experts remained indifferent, showing no sign of nervousness. Meanwhile, Princess Xuanhuan, being escorted to the Shenxianzong hall by the great demon Xianxia, narrowed her eyes at the booming sound, a glint of coldness in them. How dare Chen Lie disobey her? But she wasn't worried about the Immortal Sect at all. Having seen Wang Feng's power, she knew her brother, the Emperor, was in for a rude awakening. Someone's attacking the Immortal Sect. Aren't you worried? Princess Xuanhuan asked the great demon Xianxia, a slight smile playing on her lips. Trying to stop a chariot with bare hands, Xianxia replied indifferently. Xuanhuan studied him carefully, saying nothing, but followed him quietly. Her curiosity about the Immortal Sect grew, and with it, a flicker of hope. How could this legendary figure who terrorized the Sunbright Empire 1,000 years ago show such respect for this Immortal Sect? Elsewhere, Li Qing, the Immortal Sect's eldest disciple, stood with his hands clasped behind him, gazing at the approaching figures, his face impassive, his eyes deep. This was a far cry from Li Qing's usual demeanor. He seemed to have seen and experienced a great deal and held a calm detachment. Atop a mountain hundreds of meters from the Immortal Sect, dozens of figures stood, dressed in various robes, separated into groups. The beautiful elder from the Tianxin sect was among them, standing respectfully beside a burly, middle-aged man in Taoist robes, Jiang Tian, the sect master of Tianxin sect. Standing with Jiang Tian were the leaders of other top sects of the Yari Empire. The Empire had dispatched 2 elite legions, Flame and Frost, to deal with the Immortal Sect. Though the plan was top secret, these sects had still caught wind of it. They couldn't resist coming to watch, hoping to scavenge what they could. The Immortal Sect was a mystery, but destined to be destroyed. Their treasures and secret techniques would be up for grabs. Almost all of the gathered experts believed that the Immortal Sect couldn't withstand the Empire's assault. 2 of the Empire's best armies attacking together, even the biggest sects would tremble at that prospect. Never before had 2 of the Empire's 5 top armies been deployed together. The Immortal Sect could at least be proud of drawing such a response, even if it meant annihilation. You have to admit, this Immortal Sect is impressive. It came out of nowhere and immediately crushed 3 top sects, shaking the world. But it can't stand against the Emperor, Jiang Tian muttered, his eyes fixed on the black cloud above Shenxianzong Valley, his thoughts unreadable. Their arrogance gave him an opportunity. His intentions are clear. What's your plan, Sect Master Jiang? Another leader asked. What plan is there? He shines like the sun, illuminating everything. We should bask in his light and follow his will. Jiang Tian announced loudly, cupping his fist toward the east in a gesture of fealty. A sycophantic display, damn it. Jiang Tian, I thought I could trust you, but you're playing me, star. The other sect leader cursed inwardly, disgusted with Jiang Tian, and lost all interest in further conversation. The Emperor's will was absolute. They all wanted to ensure their own survival, and that of their sections. Resistance was suicide. Look at the Immortal Sect, 5 Xuanhuan realm experts, a blockbuster that shook the world. Yet they were about to be crushed. No matter how powerful a sect was, it couldn't stand against the might of the entire empire. As the leaders gauged one another, Chen Lie led the 2 legions above the pavilion where Wang Feng stood. Chen Lie looked down on Wang Feng and the others condescendingly, a sneer on his face. Before the empire's power, any sect was like a chicken waiting to be slaughtered. General Chen, why the grand visit to my Immortal Sect? Wang Feng asked with a smile. He acted as if he was not facing an enemy, but greeting an old friend. Wang Feng, don't play dumb, Chen Lie said in a chilling voice, his eyes as cold as those of a corpse. He hated Wang Feng's nonchalant attitude. He was a great general of the empire, accustomed to being treated with utmost respect. Wang Feng was the first person who ignored him. Now, leading 2 elite legions, he expected Wang Feng to be terrified, not indifferent. This made it impossible for Chen Lie to enjoy his victory over a strong opponent, and he was naturally very unhappy in his heart. Wang Feng shook his head, looking at General Chen Lie with indifference. His calm demeanor made Chen Lie feel as if he were being looked down upon, infuriating him even more. Your Immortal Sect is guilty of 3 crimes. First, you show great disrespect by defying His Majesty's will. Second, you challenge His Majesty's authority by harboring the remnants of the Ling family. Third, you destroy Imperial marquises and kill Imperial soldiers. These 3 sins are unforgivable. Your Immortal Sect is audacious, and today, I will lead 2 legions to punish you. Do you accept this? Chen Lie stared at Wang Feng, shouting in a deep voice. The sound was like rolling thunder, echoing across Shenxianzong Valley. Chen Lie stood in the void, hands clasped behind his back, the 2 legions behind him radiating an unparalleled power that pressed down on the entire Immortal Sect. The sense of overwhelming power sent shivers down the spines of the observing sect leaders hundreds of meters away, as expected of an Imperial general, he knows how to grandstand. An ordinary sect would be terrified by Chen Lie, but Wang Feng remained unfazed. A faint smile on his face. No one in this world can command me. Has he been on the throne too long, believing he can control everything? Wang Feng, you are arrogant. Even now, you show no remorse and dare to defy His Majesty, Chen Lie roared, his eyes flashing with rage. He couldn't believe Wang Feng's audacity. An intense killing intent burst from General Chen Lie's burly frame, matched by the terrifying aura emanating from the 2 legions behind him. The temperature in Shenxianzong Valley plummeted, making people shiver. Hearing Wang Feng's words, the distant sect leaders shook their heads in disappointment. They had thought the Immortal Sect, which had risen to prominence so quickly, must be extraordinary. Now, they saw him as a conceited fool lost in his own glory. Elder One, if possible, save Tianxin later, Jiang Tian said, staring at the Immortal Sect, his tone casual. Sect Master, that cheap servant betrayed the sect. Why? Elder Wen's face changed, her joy at the Immortal Sect's imminent destruction replaced by confusion. A powerful man has taken a liking to her. She must be clean, without a single blemish. Even a tiny scratch would ruin her beauty. Jiang Tian spoke via sound transmission, Elder Wen seated. How could that cheap servant always be so lucky? For the sect master to describe someone as a powerful man meant that he was an important figure. Although she was nominally Li Tianxin's master, she harbored a great dislike for Li Tianxin, only hoping to use her beauty to ingratiate herself with the powerful. When Li Tianxin betrayed the Tianxin sect, they had become enemies. Elder Wen had wanted Li Tianxin to die under the Imperial army, or even worse, seeing it with her own eyes would have made her happy. But she hadn't expected the servant to escape again. Meanwhile, Wang Feng, hearing General Chen Lie's words, gave a mocking smile. He looked at Chen Lie as if he were an idiot and said loudly, General Chen, you're a general of the Empire, yet you're so naive. That emperor sent people to kill my Immortal Sect, and you expect me to respect him? Are you dreaming? Does he really think he can command me? Ridiculous. I'm curious. What would it feel like to take down an emperor? Just thinking about it is exhilarating. Wang Feng's voice echoed across the valley. Chapter 83, Chen Lie Shudders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, here's the translated and edited passage. After Wang Feng spoke, General Chen Lie's reaction wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of flying into a rage, he calmed down completely, all his anger seemingly gone. Suddenly, Chen Lie felt like he was wasting his time, arguing with someone on death's door. Meanwhile, the powerhouses from the major sects, watching from a few hundred yards away, were stunned into silence by Wang Feng's words. They looked at him like he was already dead. They'd never seen anyone act so recklessly. How had Wang Feng even survived this long? Enough talk. Show me what the Immortal Sects really got. Let's see if you're worth His Majesty's concern. General Chen Lie's voice, though soft, boomed across the Immortal Sect like thunder as he stared indifferently at Wang Feng. He had the Empire's 2 elite legions and 5 top elders backing him. Chen Lie was confident, even if the Immortal Sect had 5 peak Xuanhuan realm powerhouses, Chen Lie didn't believe they could stand against the might behind him. What made the legions elite was the countless battles they'd endured. The soldiers might not have the extraordinary talent of top cultivators, but their combat experience was unmatched. The 2 legions behind him were made up entirely of experts above the entry stage. How could the Immortal Sect possibly stop him? Wang Feng just smiled, not saying a word, when he heard General Chen Lie's challenge. Kill. Impatient with Wang Feng's attitude, Chen Lie pointed from afar. A terrifying roar erupted as the 2 legions charged forward in unison, unleashing their fierce power. The combined force of the legions shook the very air. Even the peak profound Emperor realm powerhouses felt a tremor of fear. The intense killing intent of the legions swept the world, enough to affect people's minds and make them tremble. Feeling their power, Wang Feng's eyes narrowed. He'd underestimated the Imperial army. They were like 2 terrifying beasts awakening, the soldiers' power rising within them. With the eruption of the legion's power, General Chen Lie also unleashed his own violent aura, engulfing the divine Immortal Sect. He mixed his spiritual sense with the power, and started a search. He hadn't dared to act rashly before, afraid of alerting Wang Feng, but now, with the legion's attack, he could finally scan the entire Immortal Sect. When he didn't find the aura of Her Royal Highness, the eldest princess, within the Immortal Sect, General Chen Lie breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed the eldest princess hadn't snuck in to investigate. If she had, and they were caught, they'd probably be in big trouble. But Chen Lie didn't know that Princess Xuanhuan had sensed his aura the moment it burst forth, and she restrained her own presence to the extreme. Coupled with Wang Feng's suppression as a Xuanhuan realm powerhouse, Chen Lie couldn't detect Princess Xuanhuan's aura at all. Wang Feng, it's not easy to build the Immortal Sect to this level. I'll give you one last chance. Come with me to the Imperial capital and beg forgiveness before His Majesty. Maybe he'll be generous and spare you and the Immortal Sect. Chen Lie shouted, staring intently at Wang Feng. After all, the Immortal Sect did have 5 peak Xuanhuan realm powerhouses with formidable strength. If he could take them down without bloodshed, General Chen Lie would be thrilled, but Wang Feng just looked at General Chen Lie like he was a fool, not even bothering to respond. How clueless could someone be to say something so ridiculous? Seeing Wang Feng's attitude, General Chen Lie shook his head, a hint of regret in his eyes. He felt sorry for the Immortal Sect's disciples, doomed to die for such an arrogant leader. Then, General Chen Lie waved his hand gently. Boom! An extremely terrifying power erupted from the 2 legions. The soldiers of the Flame and Frost legions instantly flew out, surrounding Wang Feng and the others from the left and right. The terrifying pressure filled the air around Wang Feng and his group, as if a giant mountain was crushing them. But whether it was Wang Feng, Shimenchue Xue, or the others, their expressions remained calm. Even Yi Muqing, who had no cultivation at all, was smiling, not nervous in the slightest. It was unbelievable. The power of hundreds of thousands of entry-stage powerhouses should have made even the Xuanhuan realm tremble, and yet Yi Muqing, an ordinary mortal, faced it with such ease. After the 2 legions completely surrounded Wang Feng and the others, General Chen Lie narrowed his eyes, unleashing a majestic momentum. He stretched out his hand and pressed down hard. In the void, a giant golden palm suddenly appeared. The palm was fierce with power, pressing down on Wang Feng and the others, distorting and collapsing the air. Ripples of void energy spread as the palm descended. The sky over the valley where the entire Immortal Sect was located seemed to turn inside out. The very air roared, as if the sun and moon had dimmed. The power of a peak profound Emperor realm powerhouse was terrifying. Chen Lie used all his strength with this palm. As one of the Radiant Sun Empire's top Xuanhuan realm powerhouses, he could unleash frightening power. At least, those major sect leaders felt a chill in their hearts, and their eyes flashed with fear. As expected of General Chen Lie, his strength is truly terrifying. Yeah, his power is probably second only to His Majesty in the entire Shining Sun Empire. The God of War of the Shining Sun Empire lives up to the name. This Immortal Sect is truly unfortunate. It became famous and shocked the Empire, but it was just a flash in the pan, destined to be destroyed today. The sect powerhouses sighed, disdain dripping from their tone. None of the established sects dared challenge the Empire. This newly emerged Immortal Sect was just asking for trouble. Didn't their defiance make their own sects look weak? If the Immortal Sect didn't die, who would? Sect Master, let me handle this one. Facing Chen Lie's terrifying attack, Wang Feng and the others remained calm. Chong Feng stepped forward, his voice stern. Since he'd joined the Immortal Sect, its enemies were his enemies. It had been a while since he'd had a good fight. He could use this general as practice. All right, Wang Feng nodded. He trusted Chong Feng's strength. Though Chen Lie was strong, he wasn't sure he could defeat Chong Feng. Aside from the Xuanhuan realm powerhouses, the divine Immortal Sect's most powerful experts at the peak of Xuanhuan realm included Shimen Chueshue, the King of Swords, and Chong Feng. Each of the peak Xuanhuan realm experts in his Immortal Sect was capable of causing a huge stir. They were all top talents. With Wang Feng's approval, Chong Feng slowly unfastened the great sword behind him and slammed it into the ground. The entire mountain shook, and a large crater exploded where the sword landed, sending gravel flying. At the same time, Chong Feng's profound energy surged wildly. He gripped the great sword with both hands, raising the weapon that was taller than he was, and unleashed an unprecedented cold sword energy. Suddenly, Chong Feng slashed with his sword. The sword seemed unremarkable, without any obvious power or edge, but then, a dazzling sword energy erupted. It stirred the very air, like a terrifying dragon roaring towards the giant palm in the void, claws extended. Boom! The sword and the palm collided, and to everyone's astonishment, the giant golden palm was instantly disintegrated by the sword energy, which crushed the palm print into nothingness. How is that possible? The general's palm was torn apart by the Immortal Sect powerhouse's sword. Wow! Are the Immortal Sect's experts really that strong? That the pupils of many powerful sect leaders hundreds of yards away shrank as they exclaimed in shock. Only in that way could they release the shock in their hearts, especially a few sect leaders. There was a flash of fear in their eyes. They asked themselves, even themselves, facing the palm of General Chen Lie, they had to be careful, even to a large extent, is unstoppable, and the strong man of the Immortal Sect, with such an understatement, slashed out a sword, and directly tore the palm of the General Chen Lie. Chen Lie himself was directly shocked by Chong Feng's sword. His brain was buzzing, his eyes were about to pop out, and the whole person shuddered. Although his palm wasn't his strongest move, how could it be broken so easily? It was outrageous. The most terrifying thing was that Chen Lie discovered an amazing thing. Chapter 84, Imperial Elders Take Action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Lie realized the guy who shattered his palm with that sword wasn't one of the 5 he'd seen before. It was a 6th, someone new, meaning the Immortal Sect had a total of 6 Xuanhuan peak powerhouses. That's insane. How could this be happening? Chen Lie was shaking. A knot of dread tightened in his gut. He, and probably even the Emperor, had seriously underestimated this Immortal Sect. While Chen Lie was reeling, Chong Feng wasn't letting up. He glanced at Chen Lie and said flatly, "The Immortal Sect's strength and history are beyond your comprehension." Boom, star, then, a wave of pure force, like a punch from the universe itself, blasted outward from Chong Feng. Chen Lie's hair stood on end. Every nerve screamed danger. That energy was a death sentence waiting to happen. Boom, star, Chong Feng swung. This time, the sword looked simple, but every fiber of Chen Lie knew it was a razor's edge contained. The void around Chen Lie seemed to shrink, trying to crush him. It was like that sword was tearing reality itself apart. Faced with the impossible, Chen Lie found his focus. A general doesn't get where he is by panicking. In the face of an impossible enemy, fear is a death sentence. He reached out, and a huge, black sword materialized out of thin air. It was a 2-meter broadsword, just as tall as Chong Feng's weapon. Jet black, etched with symbols that made your blood run cold. No flashy displays, just raw power. Holding it, Chen Lie was a changed man. A brutal, savage will poured out of him. Even Xiao Xialong, standing behind Wang Feng, narrowed his eyes. The sword on his back thrummed in response. Chen Lie looked at his blade, and something like regret flickered across his face. It had been so long. Nobody had ever forced him to reach for it, but now, against Chong Feng, he had no choice. Only General Chen Lie, blade in hand, was the true war god of the Shining Sun Empire. His face was grim. His eyes were like ice. The world seemed to crack around him. The air itself tore into razor-edged shards. Dark rifts appeared, it was like the end times, and sectarians hundreds of yards away trembled. This was the Imperial war god. The officers and soldiers surrounding Wang Feng stared at Chen Lie with open admiration. This was the Empire's champion, commander of the Imperial legions. Their awe didn't register. All Chen Lie saw was the sword, and the man holding it. He gripped the broadsword with both hands, pouring every ounce of his power into the black metal. Light blazed from it, a whirlwind of blades gathered around Chen Lie, forming a zone of pure destruction. Chen Lie struck. The sword launched, a storm of steel sweeping everything before it. It was like a demon breaking free, its roar shaking the very foundations of the Immortal Sect. Luckily, Li Qing had sent the rest of the disciples out on missions to hunt down spies. Otherwise, the sheer force would have turned them pale with terror. This sword was unstoppable, like a blow from a forgotten god. Boom, sword met sword. The world went silent for a heartbeat, then exploded. Even the distant sectarians felt the shockwave, a wave of pure force slamming into them. They threw up shields to survive, but strangely, the Immortal Sect's buildings were untouched. Some unseen force protected them. Boom, the explosion threw Chen Lie back, tumbling through the air before he regained control. A trickle of blood ran down his chin. His face was white. He stared at Chong Feng, horror in his eyes. Even with this blade, he was outmatched. Was the Immortal Sect really this strong? Impossible. I don't believe it. General Chen Lie roared, charging forward, sword raised. Chong Feng met him head-on. He vanished, then reappeared like a spear thrust through the void. Boom. Boom, they clashed in mid-air. Each strike unleashed shockwaves of energy, tearing holes in the sky and ground. The watching sectarians stared, hearts pounding. They'd thought Chen Lie's legions would crush the Immortal Sect. Now it seemed they had walked into a hornet's nest. A random member was enough to match General Chen Lie. Was it too much? Hope and greed warred in their eyes. If the Immortal Sect could stand against the Empire. It's our turn. The 5 Imperial elders, who had been watching silently, exchanged grim looks. Even they were shaken by Chong Feng's power. Boom, they released their power, a whirlwind of pure Xuanhuan level force tearing through the valley, no holding back. They were all Xuanhuan peak, and they would show the world. What? 5 Xuanhuan peak powerhouses. They sent 2 legions and 5 peak experts. Can the Immortal Sect survive this? That emperor doesn't mess around. 5 peak Xuanhuan experts is unheard of. The distant sectarians gasped, fear chilling them to the bone. The sect leaders crushed down the dangerous thoughts that had flickered in their hearts. 5 peak experts, 2 top legions, and General Chen Lie. This was enough to crush any sect in the Empire. Even if the Immortal Sect had 6 peak-level fighters, they couldn't stand against that much force. The Immortal Sect was doomed. Outside the pavilion, Wang Feng smirked. The Emperor was cautious, all right. But he had no idea what he was up against. The Immortal Sect was more than the Emperor or his empire could ever handle. 5 peak experts, Chen Lie, and 2 legions, a nightmare for everyone in this world. For the Immortal Sect, it was Tuesday. Pick your fights. Wang Feng didn't even move. It's time to handle this. The 5 peak experts did not matter. He, Wang Feng, and his sect, would not be worried. Shimen Chui Xue, Yi Gucheng, Xiao Xiaolong, Wu Xiang Monk, and the Sword Emperor exchanged glances and charged. Their own peak Xuanhuan power erupted, a tsunami of force crashing against the Imperial elders. The void twisted and warped as the energies collided. The Imperial elders recoiled. They had known the Immortal Sect had 5 peak fighters, but feeling their actual power, it was a different story. They exchanged a look, and each chose an opponent. The leader of the Imperial elders turned to the Sword Emperor, Yen Dao. Yen Dao, you dare betray His Majesty? That he stared at Yen Dao, disbelief and rage twisting his features. He pointed a shaking finger. Chapter 85, The Strength of the Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the Empire Elder cried out, General Chen Lie and the other 4 elders whipped their heads around, seeing Sword Emperor Yan Dao had actually betrayed the empire and joined the Immortal Sect filled them with both rage and dread. Sword Emperor Yan Dao might not be a household name across the Yari Empire, but he was legendary among the upper echelons. Even General Chen Lie, stationed in Yaoshui's city to keep an eye on Yan Dao, felt uneasy around him. The guy was a true master of the blade. Even Chen Lie wasn't sure he could beat Yan Dao in a sword fight, which just shows how dangerous Yan Dao was. "You, how dare you?" that the lead Empire elder roared at Yan Dao, knowing the emperor would blow a gasket when he heard the news. Betrayal was the one thing the emperor couldn't stand. Yan Dao's defection would piss him off even more than bumping off a prince. Yan Dao didn't respond to the elder's outburst. His face was a mask, and his actions spoke volumes. He reached out and grabbed a golden long saber that materialized out of thin air. The moment it appeared, the air itself vibrated. Cracks opened in the void around the saber. The blade didn't even need to try, it just existed, and reality tore itself apart. Terrifying. Breaking heaven golden saber, that the sight of the golden blade made the elder tremble. He gasped, a flicker of fear in his eyes. The breaking heaven golden saber was Yan Dao's signature weapon, famed for its peerless edge and ranked as the best sword in the Shining Empire. Even Chen Lie's black jade sword couldn't compare, but the breaking heaven golden saber's reputation wasn't just about being the top sword, it was about being Yan Dao's sword. Any other swordsman might become famous for wielding the Empire's best blade, but Yan Dao made the blade famous simply by existing. Huge difference. Yan Dao gripped the breaking heaven golden saber, and his whole aura shifted. A bone-chilling cold, like it was straight from hell, radiated from him. The elder shuddered. Yan Dao swung the breaking heaven golden saber in a single, decisive motion. The strike was unremarkable, almost gentle. Wang Feng, watching from beside the pavilion, grinned. He knew he'd struck gold. Yan Dao channeled his swordsmanship to such an extent that there was no outward display of sword intent or energy. Only complete mastery could achieve that. Wang Feng even suspected that Xiao Xiaolong couldn't beat Yan Dao in a sword duel. The Empire elder's face paled as he sensed Yan Dao's attack. It seemed ordinary, but that's what scared him the most. He hadn't tested Yan Dao's strength personally, but everyone in the Yari Empire knew that the Emperor had praised Yan Dao, the only Xuanhuan realm master so honored. That said it all. If Yan Dao hadn't been such a loner, Chen Lie would never have become the Empire's great general. Boom, star. The elder didn't hesitate. He unleashed his full power, the ancient body erupting with a force that shook the world. He clenched his fist, a blinding light blooming from it like a miniature sun. Just as Yan Dao's simple blade was about to make contact, the elder threw a punch. A massive fist-shaped imprint appeared in the air. As it shot forward, it tore a gaping hole in reality, the resulting shockwave blasting in all directions. Boom, star. The elder's pupils shrunk. Terror flooded him as the ordinary sword light grew larger and larger. Then, the unremarkable light sliced through his body, continued towards the ground, and carved a 10-meter-long gash in the earth, felling trees in its wake. Holy crap! Sword Emperor Yan Dao joined the Immortal Sect. A top-tier profound Emperor realm master, crushed by Yan Dao. Is that how strong Yan Dao is? Terrifying. The title of Sword King is well deserved. Looks like the Empire's attack on the Immortal Sect is in trouble. That the onlookers hundreds of meters away were bug-eyed, jaws slack. Many of them, as leaders of major sects, had heard of Yan Dao. The Emperor had bestowed the title on him, drawing their attention, but no one had seen Yan Dao's power firsthand, not even the sect leaders themselves. The title of Sword Emperor sparked jealousy among the Xuanhuan masters, but nobody dared challenge him. The Emperor's blessing was like a shield. Who would risk the Emperor's wrath? Now, they saw that the title was no exaggeration. Yan Dao had more than earned it. You. The elder pointed a shaky finger at Yan Dao, unable to speak. His pupils were dilated, and he could almost see his head separating from his body. The elder died, decapitated by Yan Dao. His head plummeted from hundreds of meters high, followed by his body. Boom, star. The elder's corpse crashed into the ground, creating a crater and spilling blood everywhere. Elder. That the death of the elder made General Chen Lie and the other 3 scream. crimson filling their eyes, as murderous intent exploded from them. The empire hadn't lost a Xuanhuan elder in who knew how long. The death of one was a catastrophic blow. Chen Lie and the remaining elders didn't want to imagine the emperor's fury. Yen Dao, you've got a death wish. General Chen Lie turned on Sword Emperor Yen Dao and roared. The bloodthirsty cry echoed across the Shenxianzong Valley. Dead, dead. A Xuanhuan powerhouse, taken out that easily. You'd think he was swatting a fly, that the sect leaders hundreds of meters away were stunned. They looked at Yen Dao, then at the crater where the elder lay buried, shocked to the core. The sect leaders' minds were racing. They knew that General Chen Lie had no choice but to crush the Immortal Sect, but they still needed to wait and see, because something huge was about to happen. Something earth-shattering. Sword Emperor Yen Dao had betrayed the Shining Sun Empire, joined the Immortal Sect, and personally killed one of the Empire's Xuanhuan masters. The sect leaders could practically see the Supreme Emperor's rage. He'd probably send millions of troops to surround the Xingyao Mountains and lay siege to the Immortal Sect. The death of a Xuanhuan master had crossed a line. This was the Immortal Sect's moment of crisis. Only by surviving it could they rise from the ashes and stand tall above the Shining Sun Empire. Only then would the other sects dare make a move. After killing the elder, Yen Dao sheathed his blade and stood tall. He ignored Chen Lie's anger and watched indifferently. Flame, Frost, I order you to besiege the Immortal Sect and leave no survivors. Seeing Yen Dao's attitude, Chen Lie lost it. His roar echoed across the valley. Xuanhuan was keeping him busy, and he couldn't break free. Xuanhuan was stronger than Chen Lie thought. He had to be careful. Chen Lie could only hope that the armies would crush everyone in the Immortal Sect, except for Yen Dao. No matter how strong Yen Dao was, he couldn't withstand the full force of the Imperial legions. Chen Lie had wanted to send one of the other elders to lead the armies against the Immortal Sect and Yen Dao, but he quickly realized that the other elders were in trouble, sporting cuts and bruises. The Immortal Sect experts, on the other hand, looked like they were toying with them. This made Chen Lie both furious and scared. He feared this would be his downfall. He, Chen Lie, had been respected on battlefields, and even other empires had never defeated him so badly. And now, some backwater sect was making him swallow the bitter taste of defeat for the first time. Chapter 86, Army Strength. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although his heart was bruised, Chen Lie refused to back down. He was the Empire's top general, the war god in charge of its armies. The words give up weren't in his vocabulary. Instead, Chen Lie's fighting spirit surged. Even if he couldn't crush the Immortal Sect entirely, he'd take down some of their heavy hitters to avenge the Empire's fallen elders. Boom! His rage didn't cloud his judgment, it fueled him. Power coursed through him like a geyser, exploding outwards. The black jade sword in his grasp gleamed, unleashing a blade of pure darkness that ripped through space. He raised the black jade sword and brought it down on Xuanhuan. The void split open where the blade passed. Unfazed by Chen Lie's ferocity, Xuanhuan remained calm and collected. His sword radiated a heavy, imposing aura, a silent menace that promised pain. A heavy sword doesn't need an edge to hurt. Xuanhuan countered with his own strike, unleashing a huge wave of sword energy. Blade met blade, boom. The collision unleashed a shockwave that tore through the void, obliterating everything in its path. The sheer force of the impact turned heads across the battlefield. Only those facing Ximenxue and the other Immortal Sect elders were too busy fighting for their lives to notice. The Empire's 4 elders were fully occupied, facing Ximenxue and his comrades. They understood true fear. Their sword energy threatened to pierce their souls at any moment, and they couldn't afford a single lapse in concentration. Distraction meant death. For a split second, the clash between Chen Lie and Xuanhuan captured the attention of both armies. Then, they hardened their resolve and charged towards Wang Feng's group. Driven by murderous intent, each soldier exuded a raw, powerful aura. The bloodlust in the air was palpable. These were warriors forged in the fires of war. Each one possessed terrifying combat skills. Entry-phase cultivators wouldn't stand a chance, unable to even withstand a single strike. If the timing were better, Wang Feng would have sent his disciples to fight these soldiers, to teach them the true meaning of deadly combat. These soldiers might lack the flashy techniques of top geniuses, but every move they made was designed to kill. Their techniques were honed to brutal efficiency. A fight against such opponents would be a true test. Unfortunately, Ling Feiwu and the others couldn't handle that level of intensity just yet. They were facing thousands of entry-phase warriors. Even if all the Immortal Sect disciples joined forces, they would be overwhelmed. Wang Feng wanted his disciples to gain experience, but he wouldn't send them to their deaths. Instead of spreading out, the two legions advanced together. They knew they were strongest when they fought as one. If they scattered, the Immortal Sect's Xuanhuan realm experts would pick them apart. That was the mark of a top legion. Even without a general leading them, they intuitively found the most effective way to attack. The Flame Legion moved to engage Wang Feng and the others, while the Frost Legion targeted Sword Emperor Yandao. Even against a powerhouse like Sword Emperor Yandao, the Frost Legion showed no fear. They treated the battle as a challenge. Although it was their first time facing a peak-profound Emperor realm expert, the soldiers of the Frost Legion saw Sword Emperor Yandao as a stepping stone. The Sword Emperor Yandao stood calmly in the void, gripping his broken heaven golden saber. As the Frost Legion approached, ice crystals seemed to form in the air, and a chilling cold swept over the area. It was as if everything was about to freeze. Centered on the Frost Legion, a wave of white frost spread outward. Each of the Empire's 5 legions specialized in a different combat style, and the soldiers within each legion mastered the same techniques. The individual techniques might not be high-level, but they were perfected. An entire army practicing the same style, eating and sleeping together, created a powerful synergy in battle that amplified their strength. That was what made the Empire's top legion so formidable. Even Sword Emperor Yandao felt a chill run down his spine and his eyes flashed with concern. Kill! The Frost Legion roared in unison, shaking the heavens. They unleashed a barrage of identical attacks. Hundreds of entry-phase attacks shot forward, overwhelming the sky, and something strange began to happen. They gravitated toward each other. Gradually, the attacks merged into a single, even more terrifying strike. Then 2, 3, the combined power of the entire Frost Legion coalesced into a single, icy sword beam. It was as if a long sword of pure ice had materialized, slicing through the air toward Sword Emperor Yandao. The void cracked and shattered. This blade was unstoppable, threatening to destroy everything. Faced with this terrifying strike, the Sword Emperor Yandao frowned. He raised his saber above his head, channeling all his power into it. A wave of golden light erupted. This was the first time Sword Emperor Yandao had unleashed his full power. He hadn't even done so against the Empire's elder. Against the Frost Legion, he couldn't afford to hold back. He knew how dangerous the Empire's top legions were and that he couldn't rely on individual strength alone. Boom! Without hesitation, Yandao swung downwards, unleashing a wave of golden energy that slammed into the ice crystal longsword at blinding speed. In that moment, only 2 lights existed in the world, gold and white. Boom! The collision shook the heavens. A deafening roar echoed in all directions, leaving those hundreds of meters away temporarily deaf. Violent energy surged outwards. Only an invisible force field kept the Immortal Sect's buildings from collapsing. The void within a kilometer radius of Sword Emperor Yandao and the Frost Legion shattered, and it felt as if the sky itself was falling. Boom! After a brief stalemate, the ice crystal longsword shattered Yandao's golden light, scattering it into nothing. It continued on its path toward Yandao, and the intensity of the blade made his skin prickle. Yandao's face remained calm, and he seemed to have expected this. He braced himself and blocked it. The power surged into it, and it shined brilliantly. When the ice crystal longsword crashed down, Yandao blocked it with the heaven-breaking golden saber. Clang! A metallic clang reverberated in the air. A huge force was transmitted to Yandao's body through the broken sky golden saber, and he was forced back several hundred meters. A trickle of blood escaped from the corner of his mouth. His eyes grew colder, fixated on the soldiers of the Frost Legion as he searched for an opening. Ha ha ha, Yandao, so what if you're strong? Against the Imperial Legion, personal strength is meaningless. Chen Lie, who was fighting against the heavy front, let out a joyful laugh at the sight. Sword Emperor Yandao dared to betray his majesty and he had to die. Only then could he return to his majesty and calm down some of his majesty's anger. However, Chen Lie only had time to gloat before he was forced to focus on the terrifying swordplay of the heavy front. As the Frost Legion and Yandao clashed, the Flame Legion advanced on Wang Feng and the others. A wave of heat swept across the area, and the temperature skyrocketed as if they were standing inside a furnace, or worse. Wang Feng watched the battle between Yan Dao and the Frost Legion with concern. When Yan Dao was forced back, he sighed softly. Against a true top legion, even someone with a much higher cultivation level couldn't stand against the might of the army. Chapter 87, One Finger, The World is Shocked. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Wang Feng hadn't wanted to reveal his Xianzong level, but the situation forced his hand. He'd underestimated the Empire's top legions. A Xuanhuan realm peak powerhouse simply couldn't stand against them. War. The word boomed like a bell throughout the world, and the Flame Legion soldiers surged with fierce power, their eyes flashing cold. A searing heat instantly filled the area, turning the world into a furnace. Instead of unleashing individual attacks like the Frost Legion, the Flame Legion soldiers placed their hands on the shoulders of the soldier in front, channeling power upwards to the Legion's leader. That soldier radiated a tremendous force. Even profound Emperor realm peak powerhouses were visibly shaken. How terrifying was it for an entire legion's power to concentrate on a single person? The sky trembled, as the power washed over them, the air in front of Wang Feng and the others visibly warped. Damn! That's the power of the Empire's top legion. Yeah, even Sword Emperor Yan Dao, who can kill profound Emperor realm peak powerhouses with a single strike, can't withstand that. If the Immortal Sect doesn't have some ace up its sleeve, they're in serious trouble. It's already insane that the Immortal Sect has come this far. The Empire's power is just too overwhelming for any sect to resist. If even such a powerful Immortal Sect can't resist, what chance do we have? The nearby powerhouses, hundreds of meters away, paled as they witnessed the might of the Frost and Flame Legions, muttering in shock. Even the sect leaders were trembling. After seeing Sword Emperor Yan Dao's ability to kill profound Emperor realm elders with ease, these once arrogant leaders humbled themselves. They had no confidence they could withstand Yan Dao, and if even Yan Dao couldn't stand against the Imperial Legion, what chance did they have? They couldn't help but tremble. That person's will was clear. Without a sect to stand against it, they'd likely be swallowed whole. These leaders were unwilling to be swayed by the Imperial Legion's terrifying power. Save for the Tianxin sect master, their eyes flashed with defiance. No one wanted to bow and become a lackey, to see their hard-won sects become puppets of the Empire, but when faced with death, could they really stand firm? Boom! While the powerhouses were still reeling, the Flame Legion pressed on. The lead soldier, his eyes filled with deadly intent, drew the long knife at his waist, channeling power into it until it trembled violently. The knife itself was ordinary, easily broken by any profound sovereign realm expert, yet the sharpness now emanating from it was enough to terrify even the profound sovereign realm peak powerhouses. When the power of an entire legion was concentrated in one person, the grade of the knife became irrelevant. Rip. The soldier narrowed his eyes and slashed down. Even before the blade's light emerged, 100-meter-long rift tore through the air, splitting the world in two. A brilliant, flashing sword light shot out, a rainbow tearing across the sky, reaching Wang Feng and his group in the blink of an eye. The terrifying edge of the blade caused Yao Yue and the others to tense, their eyes showing fear. Only Wang Feng, Zhang Sanfeng, Ding Peng, and Yi Muqing remained calm. The first three had reached the Xuanhuan realm. No matter how terrifying the Flame Legion's power, it still hadn't reached that level. The strike might be enough to split the world in half, but to Wang Feng and his group, it was insignificant. Yi Muqing, on the other hand, looked strangely unaffected. She didn't seem to feel the blade's terrifying edge. An invisible, mysterious force seemed to be protecting her. This power wasn't coming from Wang Feng or the others, but naturally emanating from her. Even Wang Feng hadn't noticed Yi Muqing's strange state. They were all subconsciously ignoring her, minimizing their attention to her. Even Zhang Sanfeng hadn't detected Yi Muqing's abnormality. Boom. The sword light crashed toward Wang Feng and the others with incredible power. Yao Yue and the others prepared to unleash their full strength to block it, but Wang Feng stopped them. His eyes narrowed slightly, hands behind his back, his expression indifferent. Even with the blade only a meter away, he remained calm and composed. As the light was about to strike Wang Feng, he slowly extended a finger, touching the blade. Then, the terrifying blade light, which could terrify a profound Emperor realm peak powerhouse, shattered into starlight and vanished. It was as if the sword light were nothing more than light, extinguished with a simple touch. Silence. Deathly silence. The Flame Legion soldiers were shocked. Chen Lie was shocked. The 4 Imperial elders were shocked. The Frost Legion was shocked. The nearby powerhouses were shocked. They gaped, eyes wide, staring at Wang Feng, still holding out his finger, their minds blank. This was the power of an entire top legion. Was he a god? The question echoed in everyone's mind. No one could imagine what level of power was required to do this. Wang Feng's display defied their understanding. They couldn't describe the shock in their hearts. All they could do was look up in awe. How is this possible? After what felt like an eternity, General Chen Lie broke the silence. He was trembling, fear in his eyes, the black jade knife in his hand shaking. Not only Chen Lie, but the 4 Imperial elders were also trembling, even considering fleeing. God! Is the Immortal Sect master really that powerful? Yeah, the Immortal Sect has 6 profound Emperor realm peak powerhouses. Of course their leader is strong. The Empire might be in for a rude awakening. Yeah, as long as the Immortal Sect doesn't keep killing and agrees to a truce, the Empire won't want to mess with a sect this strong. When you reach a certain level of power, you can detach yourself from the outside world, and the Immortal Sect has qualified for that now. That person's will definitely won't extend above the Immortal Sect. If the Immortal Sect stops now, I bet General Chen Lie will follow suit. After the shock, the powerhouses began to discuss, as if only that could vent the shock in their hearts. But will the Immortal Sect stop? Probably. At this point, there's no need to fight anymore. The Immortal Sect's strength is shocking enough to the Empire. Unless that person's a fool, they'll agree to a truce. As the sect powerhouses talked, a group seemed out of place, the Tianqin sect members. Of all the sects, the Tianqin sect was the most shocked. From the start, the entire Tianqin sect had believed the Immortal Sect couldn't withstand the Empire's advance, seeing them as chickens waiting to be slaughtered, but now, Wang Feng's finger had terrified them. The beautiful woman in Taoist robes, who'd always disliked the Immortal Sect, was trembling, her face pale. Since becoming an elder of the Heavenly Heart sect, she'd never been so frightened, not even when facing the Empire's elites. Wang Feng's fingers shattered all her assumptions. While the strong trembled and talked, Wang Feng didn't stop, his eyes cold with killing intent. He didn't want to kill indiscriminately, but since the Flame Legion dared to attack him and the Immortal Sect, they had to pay the price. Wang Feng felt uneasy. He knew that if he unleashed his power again, the hundreds of Flame Legion soldiers would surely die. Since coming to this world, he personally killed less than 10 people, and now he had to kill hundreds with his own hands. It was a burden, but unavoidable. He had no choice. Ultimately, the Flame Legion's allegiance was at fault. Wang Feng didn't dwell on it, and pointed again, this time with the same unremarkable, powerless gesture, devoid of breath. But the moment Wang Feng pointed, the Flame Legion soldiers were immediately suppressed, as if a mountain was pressing down on them, rendering them unable to move. Chapter 88, Adversity Breakthrough. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even the Flame Legion, veterans of countless battles, hardened by rivers of blood and mountains of corpses, felt a wave of panic. They were terrified, they trembled, they desperately tried to resist, but the crushing pressure surrounding them held firm, and their struggles were futile. All they could do was watch, helpless, as Wang Feng's ordinary-looking finger moved towards them. Even now, Wang Feng's finger showed no sign of power, no special aura, appearing utterly unremarkable. Yet everyone present, from the Legion facing it head-on to the powerful observers hundreds of yards away, knew that finger held unimaginable power. Wang Feng's casual annihilation of the Flame Legion's initial strike had already revealed him as the Shenxianzong's hidden powerhouse, a terrifying powerhouse capable of reshaping the world. Before everyone's eyes, Wang Feng's finger finally touched the soldiers of the Flame Legion. The soldier at the front was the first to make contact and vanished. No blood, no gore, just a flicker of starlight, dissolving into nothingness without a ripple. Then, the rest of the Legion followed suit, disappearing in the same way. In a heartbeat, a top Legion of a leading sect was completely annihilated, erased from existence, without a sound. As if the Flame Legion had never been real, merely bubbles in a dream. When the Flame Legion was gone, Wang Feng's finger also vanished, leaving no mark on the air or the ground. It simply ceased to be. It came and went like a gentle breeze, without disturbing the calm. Everyone was stunned, the world fell silent, an unsettling quiet. Every battlefield ground to a halt as fighters turned to stare at Wang Feng in disbelief. The powerful figures in the distance watched Wang Feng with a hushed reverence. Even a sigh seemed like an insult to his power. Chen Lie was shaking uncontrollably, his mind racing, but his body refused to obey, trembling violently. The Empire's 4 remaining elders were in the same state, struggling to process what they'd witnessed. Were they scared? No. Terrified? Not quite. It was a blankness, the resigned emptiness of knowing death was near, a feeling beyond thought. The Frost Legion, which was besieging the Sword Emperor Yendao, also stopped fighting in a daze, and they shuddered. At that moment, they were chilled to the bone, a creeping coldness that spread from their feet to their brains. Everyone shared one thought: unbelievable. How could someone so powerful exist? Wang Feng stood with his hands behind his back, completely unconcerned by the stares, acting like the destruction of a top legion was as simple as crushing an ant. His effortless dominance radiated an aura of invincibility, a godlike presence that commanded respect. Impossible. It's impossible. How could such a terrifying being appear in this world? What trickery is this? General Chen Lie, nearly hysterical, his voice shaking, challenged Wang Feng, his face contorted, his eyes bloodshot. Wang Feng's 2-fingered strike had shattered Chen Lie's pride and confidence. The general seemed to have lost his grip on reality. Chen Lie's outburst snapped everyone back from their stupor. Whoa! 1 finger to wipe out a top legion. The strength. From now on, there's a titan even the Empire can't touch. Incredible, utterly incredible. This is a breakthrough for many of our sects. With the terrifying strength of the Shenxianzong, the Empire won't dare make a move anytime soon. But we've been mocking the Shenxianzong all this time. I wonder if, the powerful sect leaders in the distance began to murmur, their words filled with shock, fear, joy, and a host of other conflicted emotions. Ding! Congratulations to the host for achieving your first Legion kill. You have been awarded 3 random summon opportunities. As the sect leaders gossiped, the system's emotionless voice echoed in Wang Feng's mind, but Wang Feng ignored it, fixing his gaze on Chen Lie. Those apathetic eyes caused the general to tremble. He felt like the god of death was staring at him, shaking him to the core. You and your kind, so high and mighty, thinking yourselves at the top of the food chain. But you never realized, to a true powerhouse, the so-called Shining Sun Empire is like a frog in a well, pathetic and self-important. Your Majesty, since you dared to attack my Shenxianzong, I can promise you this: my sect will become the Shining Sun Empire's worst nightmare. You will regret this day. Wang Feng's lips curled into a cold sneer as he spoke, his voice calm but carrying across the entire area. Before Wang Feng displayed his strength, his words would have been met with derisive laughter, but now, everyone felt a chilling undercurrent and a sense of grim acceptance. General Chen Lie's face darkened. He wanted to retort, but he found himself at a loss for words. Wang Feng had proven himself more than capable of backing up his claims. Chen Lie wasn't even in the same league as Wang Feng. He was the great general of the empire, with a high position and authority, second only to the emperor. And yet, he didn't even deserve Wang Feng's attention. Chen Lie was overcome with a feeling of helplessness. What good was power? What good was status? Before a true powerhouse, they were meaningless. In this world, strength spoke louder than anything else. With strength came status, and with status came power. Only the weak desperately clung to power and position. In that moment, Chen Lie understood something profound, and his state of mind underwent a sudden transformation. An inexplicable energy surged through him. The surrounding ambient energy seemed to be drawn to it, gathering around Chen Lie. Boom! A deafening blast, a massive vortex suddenly appeared over Chen Lie's head, a swirling mass of pure energy that poured into his body. A vast, overwhelming power began to rise from Chen Lie, like a sleeping beast awakening. Sensing the shift in Chen Lie's energy, Wang Feng, Ding Peng, and Zhang Sanfeng exchanged meaningful glances. A playful smile touched Wang Feng's lips. Well, an empire general, indeed. Pushed to the brink, and he actually broke through to the Xuanhuan realm. Yes, Chen Lie was on the verge of entering the Xuanhuan realm. He'd been stuck at the peak of the profound sovereign realm for centuries, desperately trying to break through, but an invisible barrier always kept him from reaching the Xuanhuan realm. No matter how hard he tried, that barrier was Chen Lie's obsession with power and status. As the general of the empire, he reveled in the worship of the masses and the perks of supreme power, which blinded him to his original purpose. He wasn't striving for strength, but for greater influence, and that desire prevented his breakthrough, binding him to his worldly desires. Wang Feng's destruction of the Flame Legion, terrifying as it was, pulled Chen Lie back from the brink. Chen Lie finally understood. Wang Feng, the destroyer, was also the savior. What's happening? Oh my god, General Chen Lie is breaking through to the Xuanhuan realm. Wow! The general's making his breakthrough at such a moment, and it's worthy of the general of the empire. It's so terrifying. I thought the Immortal Sect had it in the bag, but I didn't expect such an unexpected turn of events. That the sect leaders in the distance, sensing Chen Lie's condition, exclaimed in shock. They hadn't reached the Xuanhuan realm themselves, and they weren't even sure if the three great empires had experts at that level, but as ancient sects, they'd learned about the Xuanhuan realm from ancient texts. When a powerhouse at the peak of the profound emperor realm was set to break through to the profound venerable realm, he will be sheltered by heaven and earth, and he cannot be interrupted in the process of breaking through. That is to say, as long as you can comprehend the mystery of the profound venerable realm, it is almost 100% able to break through to the profound venerable realm, and no one can interrupt your breakthrough, but the step of comprehending the mystery of the profound sovereign realm is the most difficult. Everyone's understanding of the Xuanhuan realm is different. Only by finding the path that belongs to him most can he fully understand it. These sect leaders reacted with a mix of shock, envy, and fear. https:// Genius for a second to remember the address of this site. Vertex mobile version reading website. Chapter 89, God of the Sky, you have to lower your eyebrows when you meet me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sect Master Wang just stood there, letting Chen Lie's breakthrough play out. Sure, Chen Lie hitting the Xuanhuan realm might seem like an unbreakable barrier to most folks, but Wang Feng could easily mess with it if he wanted to. With the system, he had a cheat code. He could use some system power to disrupt the heavenly protection around Chen Lie, but Wang Feng didn't see the point. Including him, his Immortal Sect already boasted 3 Xuanhuan-level powerhouses, one of them at the peak. Taking out a newly minted Xuanhuan just wasn't that big of a deal. Wang Feng held his ground, and so did Ding Peng and Zhang Sanfeng. Everyone waited quietly for Chen Lie to finish his ascension. Meanwhile, hundreds of yards away, the big shots from other sects were green with envy. The Xuanhuan realm. That was god-level power in the 3 empires. Once you hit that level, even the empires wouldn't dare mess with you. You'd be untouchable, soaring above it all. It was the ultimate goal for every cultivator in the 3 empires, and here was Chen Lie, a general from the Shining Sun Empire, about to walk through that door. Who wouldn't be jealous? Boom! The world shook with a muffled thunderclap. The heavenly barrier around Chen Lie vanished, and a wave of raw power surged out, washing over everything. Xuanhuan realm. Everyone knew it instantly. They stared at Chen Lie in awe, their faces a mix of emotions. That's how the invincible powerhouses of the 3 empires came to be, sometimes ordinary, sometimes out of the blue. Chen Lie floated in the air, feeling the immense power coursing through him. His whole mindset shifted. He was brimming with confidence, the calm, collected general of the Shining Sun Empire reborn. He eyed Wang Feng coolly, without a trace of emotion. Now that he was Xuanhuan, Wang Feng didn't seem so big anymore. The Xuanhuan realm, invincible in the 3 empires. What did he have to fear? Sure, Wang Feng was scary strong before, but Chen Lie didn't sense any Xuanhuan aura about him. Wang Feng was probably just a Xuanhuan powerhouse with killer skills. He had been intimidated by Wang Feng's power before, but now, as a Xuanhuan, his whole perspective had changed. Calm came naturally. Sect Master Wang, Chen Lie said, if you pledge loyalty to the Empire, I could convince His Majesty to spare your immortal sect. Let it live on in this world. After all, I owe my breakthrough to your pressure. If you surrender, I promise the Empire will last forever, and your immortal sect will too. Chen Lie stood tall, hands clasped behind his back, staring calmly at Wang Feng. His tone was even, like he was discussing the weather. Now he understood why Wang Feng always seemed so unbothered. Even when facing the combined might of two empires, Wang Feng was still cool. When you reach a certain level, you just are calm. It's the confidence of knowing your own strength. Wang Feng's lips twitched, and a playful smile lit up his face. He hadn't expected Chen Lie to get his swagger back so fast after his breakthrough. Then again, most people saw the Xuanhuan level as untouchable. Breaking through to the Xuanhuan realm seems to have given General Chen a big boost of confidence. But let me be clear. No one is worthy of my immortal sect's loyalty. Even gods have to bow before us. If you don't believe me, General Chen, feel free to test that theory. Wang Feng smiled softly as he looked at Chen Lie. Though his voice was light, it boomed like thunder, shaking everyone to their core. They stared at Wang Feng, trembling, their faces incredulous. Even after Chen Lie reached Xuanhuan, Wang Feng was still acting tough. Was he crazy? Didn't he know that Xuanhuan powerhouses were unstoppable in the three empires? Apart from the Immortal Sect members, most folks were puzzled. Why was Wang Feng acting so bold? Why risk ticking off Chen Lie so much? These sect leaders would be shaking in their boots at the thought of crossing Chen Lie. Chen Lie narrowed his eyes, studying Wang Feng. He couldn't figure out why Wang Feng was still acting like such a hotshot. Now that he had reached Xuanhuan, it had been too long since the last Xuanhuan in the three empires, he thought. The world had lost respect for the Xuanhuan realm. Time for him, Chen Lie, to remind everyone what a real Xuanhuan powerhouse was capable of. Boom. Chen Lie's eyes flashed, and a terrifying aura burst forth. It was like a storm, instantly shattering the air around him. Chen Lie stood like a god in the dark starry sky, gazing down at the mortal world. Vanquish, that he casually dropped one hand behind his back, slowly extended the other, aimed it at Wang Feng and his crew, and gently pushed down. The gesture was dripping with disdain, but nobody thought Chen Lie was out of line. A Xuanhuan realm powerhouse was entitled to that kind of condescension when dealing with a Xuanhuan realm practitioner. Boom. The world's energy surged, and a massive palm print materialized in front of Chen Lie, blotting out the sun. A colossal shadow fell, plunging the immortal sect into darkness. It was like the hand of God. A violent storm tore through the Shenxianzong valley. Even the distant sect leaders could feel the terrifying destructive force radiating from the palm print. They exchanged glances, their hearts pounding, fearing they would be caught in the fallout. These sect leaders couldn't help but peek at Wang Feng, wondering if the previously all-conquering sect master Wang would finally show some fear. Chapter 90, One Sword of the King. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. At a glance, the assembled powerhouses were stunned. Sect master Wang remained calm, as if the attack wasn't a devastating blow from a profound venerable realm powerhouse, but a mere ant's bite. His unwavering composure in the face of such danger deeply impressed them. They knew they'd be scared witless. Even from hundreds of yards away, they felt the immense power contained in that giant palm and their souls trembled, let alone facing it head-on. But Sect Master Wang, confronted with this destructive force, smirked and casually raised his hand. The familiar scene played out again. An illusory palm print appeared before Sect Master Wang. Like the previous two fingers, this palm print emitted no aura, appearing utterly harmless, as if it possessed no power whatsoever. Two palm prints materialized in the void, one threatening to annihilate the world, the other as placid as a still lake. One was kinetic, the other static, diametrically opposed. When Chen Lie unleashed his palm, everyone tensed, eyes glued to the point where the two attacks were about to collide. Chen Lie, seeing his own strike, simply sneered. How dare Wang Feng be so careless in the face of a profound venerable like himself? He clearly had a death wish. Having reached the profound venerable realm, Chen Lie's confidence had ballooned, causing him to conveniently forget the nightmare Wang Feng had previously inflicted on him. Boom. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the two opposing palm prints collided. The world fell silent. then exploded with a deafening roar that shook everything. A ripple of energy expanded in all directions, visible to the naked eye. It obliterated everything in its path. The void itself cracked like shattered glass. The terrifying scene sent shivers down the spines of the onlookers. The valley housing the Immortal Sect trembled violently. Only an invisible force protecting the sect prevented it from being obliterated by the shockwave. Hiss! A collective gasp filled the air, from the powerhouses and soldiers of the Frost Legion alike. Their eyes widened as they witnessed the unbelievable scene unfold. After a brief struggle, Wang Feng's seemingly powerless palm print effortlessly shattered Chen Lie's profound venerable attack. The strike didn't stop there. It continued, undeterred, slamming directly into Chen Lie. The entire sequence happened in a flash. One moment they saw Wang Feng's palm hurtling toward Chen Lie, the next, Chen Lie's attack had been reduced to stardust, dissipating into nothing. The smug sneer on Chen Lie's face vanished instantly, replaced by a look of pure terror, as if he'd seen a ghost. He was now a profound venerable, and even a casual strike from him should be insurmountable for someone at the peak of the profound realm. What kind of monster was this sect master Wang of the Immortal Sect? Despite the powerful impact, Chen Lie managed to react in time, unleashing his power to deflect Wang Feng's palm, but he was still forced to stumble backward. Each step created a dark crater in the void, as if some immense force was pushing him back. "Are you also a profound venerable?" Chen Lie demanded, staring at Wang Feng in disbelief. Though phrased as a question, his tone was certain. If Chen Lie couldn't figure it out at this point, he didn't deserve to be a general of the empire. Only a profound venerable could so casually deflect his attack. Otherwise, no matter how talented, someone at the peak of the profound realm might withstand such a blow, but certainly not easily. Wang Feng simply smiled, shrugged, and remained silent, but his eyes sharpened. He'd had enough games. It was time to end this. He'd only just reached the profound venerable realm himself, so using Chen Lie as a practice dummy wouldn't be a bad idea. He'd once declared that anyone who dared to attack the Immortal Sect would die. Even if Chen Lie was a general of the empire, even if he'd reached the profound venerable realm, he would die. Boom! With that thought, Wang Feng didn't hesitate. His face remained impassive, but an inexplicable power began to emanate from him. As it did, the space around Wang Feng visibly warped. He reached out and grasped the air, conjuring a long sword seemingly out of nowhere. The sword was entirely formed of condensed profound energy. It wasn't a real sword, but it was better. Its razor-sharp edge unleashed dark cracks in the void. Sect Master Wang's attack was so sudden that no one could react before Wang Feng swung the sword. What kind of sword was this? Words couldn't describe it. It transcended description. The sword chilled the entire world and made everyone present tremble. It emitted no aura, appearing ordinary, yet it was the most dazzling thing in existence. Anyone who looked in its direction would be drawn to it. None of those present could sense the sword's terrifying power, but they all knew it could drag them to hell. Chen Lie, facing the sword directly, tensed completely. He couldn't perceive its power either, but it made his soul shudder. Despite his disbelief, he braced himself for the attack. He didn't have time to question how Wang Feng could wield such a bizarre and terrifying sword, nor did he have time to wonder if he could block it. Chen Lie unleashed his full power. The mighty aura of a profound venerable swept through the world, and the combined force coalesced in his palm. He clenched his fist and punched forward. A fierce burst of light shot out instantly. The punch contained unparalleled power, blasting a hole in the void. Even though Wang Feng's sword was strange, Chen Lie was confident in his punch. It was an all-out attack. Even though he had only just reached the profound venerable realm, his strength was not to be underestimated. Even profound venerables who had broken through before him had to be cautious if they hadn't reached the middle stage of the realm. At that moment, only the fist and the sword remained, drawing everyone's attention.